Wednesday the 19th of July, correction, Tuesday the 19th of July. Here's a plant of Tricha, or plants, and you can see that now, after they've been stripped down to numbers, coming up for a week, the brakes are starting to put on a bit of meat, and even side shoots at the base. No signs of buds as yet on these. Wouldn't expect there to be. A little bit worried about the fact that we've had some cold weather for the last week, 10 days, or colder than normal. Whether I'm going to get the choice of buds that I would like to early on. The other bonus of that is that I haven't had to do any knocking back as yet. There's one plant that's got a bud on it, and I'll show you knocking back on that when I get to it. So these are the Tricha. And you can see they're starting to fill out, and generally over the plot there's a lot more green and a lot less straw visible. The plants are putting their arms out again and hopefully moving towards flowering. Some Hillcrest Hilton there that are starting to sort of really motor now, and there's the giant Sycamore Valentine. Again, still no signs of buds, but I don't really want to be seeing any for the next 10 days really anyway, so let's hope they come when I want them to. But again, after being stripped down, there's a nice bit of weight coming back in them stems, and hopefully we'll carry a giant sized bloom on them. There's more there, and even the ones that were double stopped now are putting on weight, and will hopefully produce a flower when I want them to. And there's the start of the Challenger. These are the ones that had the single stop and are obviously ahead of the rest. Hopefully they won't bud too quick. And then we've got the smaller ones here, which were the ones that had the 2 stops, and hopefully they're going to follow on from the first lot. Only problem with a bit of straw now, the barley is where there was seed. We're getting a bit of growth through the paths, but that's easily dealt with. The Dahlias tend to grow a bit quicker than what the straw does. And those ones there putting on some lovely meat now is the new large semicactus from Les Jackson. Really looks good, strong and healthy. Let's see what the flower does when it comes out. Out of interest, I'm growing them all 5 up, 17 plants, with the exception of one there that I'm growing 8 up, just in case it makes a medium. I'd hate to find out years after I've grown it, so we'll just try the one now and see what happens. And there's the candy Winholm dying there. Again, they're all down to numbers and starting to fill their space. And there's the Oakwood Goldcrest. They're also doing that now. Just starting to see the forming of the odd bud here and there, just in the tip. But I'm not too worried. So there's 35 plants there, and it's only the very earliest that are showing signs. And these are the BJ Beauty, and hopefully you can see the ones on the right were the ones that were chopped back a week before the ones on the left, so there should be a natural follow on, but they're all again down to numbers, 7 up on those, and starting to put on a bit of weight again. This is the Mary's Germander. They're a little bit up and down because I stopped some a week before the others, so the bigger plants like these will have been the ones that stopped first, and those ones a week behind. Whether I shall strip them down, I sort of grow this about 16 up, but really by the time you've done it, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and there is a bit of fluff in the bottom. You're not far off of the number of breaks that you want. Now a plant like this, what I should probably do is just remove the ones that have just started forming buds, leaving these lower branches which should come on and form bud about when I want, but I won't religiously count these down because 16 or so is fine for me. I've always sort of tried to get at least 16 on it and still got far too many oversized. Dave's choice, just moving through now, and the feeding's carrying on twice a week at the moment. I'm going on holiday for a week, so they'll have to have a week without and just water. And there's the poms, smaller ones at this end, which were the plants that I actually thought were something else. And as we get down here, we get to the ones that I knew were Willow's Violet and were grown accordingly. And they're about ready for their first tie, which hopefully will get done by the end of Friday. Starting to produce a few buds. There's a plant here. And all I do on these is I don't try and knocking the stem back and leaving a side shoot. I just take it down. And we've still got a couple of weeks before we want to see a bud, so that is only going to delay it a week. That would delay it too, and we just leave those pair there to come. Another one there, just chunk it out the top. And that's all I do up until probably the end of this week. I'll go right through them and just chop back any buds that are coming, and then just let them come on from there. I don't mind wasting a few early on with the poms just to get them settled in, get an idea of what sort of sizes they're coming. But that's the ideal Willow's Violet really plants for me. These I've got a little bit of work to do on to get up to scratch. Now, for those of you that haven't used what we call a knockback method, I'll try to explain it on this bud here. This is Ruskin Myra. This is sort of my bits and pieces bed. It's just one row of odds and ends that I'm either keeping for stock that I might want to use again, or varieties that I'm trying out, a couple of plants to see if I like them before I put them in the main beds. Now I've stripped this down to 16, which is what I grow it up, and again it can be a bit of a big one, but it's down to numbers, and we've got a shoot here with a fairly decent sized crown bud. Now the timing goes, if that was 0, then the bud to the left is 3 days behind the crown bud. Bud to the right is about 3 days behind the bud to the left. When you go down the stem, these shoots, again left to right with a slight variance, but we tend not to worry too much. These shoots here will produce a pea-sized bud in about a week's time, so that each joint you're gaining a week. So when we get down to here, in about 2 weeks they will produce buds, and maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks down here that will produce a bud. So we're about 14 days before I want to start taking buds, certainly that within show time. I really only want these early odd plants for Midlands. There's a class there I haven't managed to enter because I've never had enough varieties. So if we go through it from the top, that will gain me a week, and I really want to gain 2 weeks, so we take that out, and that leaves us with a stem with 6 shoots on. Now I tend to take the one that's going to face outwards so it doesn't get congested, so we take that off, that one, and again look down the stem, there's another couple down there, and we take those off as well, and just make sure there's nothing else coming from below, because you don't really want additional shoots coming from that stem other than the one that you've left. So that one there, growing off the side, should produce us a bud in about 12 to 14 days. Hopefully it will, and then that's our flower. You'll be surprised now how that will thicken up, and really on these smaller varieties you'll never notice the difference between the flower on a knockback, as long as you're not taking a little wing bud here or there. it's a proper knockback, you won't notice the difference, and that way you can spread the buds and also delay flowering when they're starting to come too early. Just an interesting story for some. I kept some seed last year, just a couple of few seed heads, and in the end, by the time they got wet, frozen, lost, I found a few, put them in a seed tray. 2 weeks later they never germinated, so I put some cuttings in the same cell trays. When I come to put on the cuttings, there was a seedling just sticking out the side of the plant, so feeling sorry for it as it was the only one, I just put it in a pot and planted it. And the odds of it being double are pretty slim, but here it is. There's a crown bud, and it's a very sort of candy pink, bright pink, loose, decorative, but it's got plenty to come in the middle, it's got plenty out. It will form a double flower, probably not a show flower, but it's just surprising, you know, when we plant hundreds and hundreds of seedlings out, most come out single. You plant one and out it comes a double. So not going to be a world beater, and probably not one that I'll actually keep, but it's just nice to see a double flower. It's Friday the 22nd of July, off on holiday tomorrow. As you can see, plants are still moving. Finally got a bit of sunshine, haven't seen that for a fair while. I've just applied a spray of bug clear, done it at double strength. It seems to affect the earwigs better at that level, and all the plants are now down to numbers, flowering numbers, and where required, tied. We've certainly got the first tie. One of the more impressive plants certainly at the moment that seems to be coming into its own is this large semi-cactus red from Les Jackson. It's one I'm trialling, but when you look at a plant like this that really is coming out and putting some power on now, I mean, it's got leaves like rhubarb, a lovely strong plant. This one I'm actually trying 8 up as a plant, just in case it makes a tidy medium. There's no point just sort of doing exactly what the razor tells you, because sometimes they're wrong, and I'd rather find out myself this year than by getting beaten by it as a medium when it's out on general release. So really pleased with that as a variety. Obviously the flower will tell, but generally now everything's really starting to pack some weight on. There's the Dahlia there, even the Challenger, which generally I'm disappointed with, certainly the ones that had the second stop, look like they're starting to put a bit of meat on now, and hopefully a week's time there'll be a lot of changes here, a lot of growth hopefully, and we'll see if they're coming any better.